Okay, obviously I've gotten the seat out of the truck and I'm going to finish the conversion inside on my porch where it's a little bit easier to work. And you can see my replacement pieces here. Here in the background is my replacement upper frame from the donor seat that I pulled out of the junkyard. We'll get to that in just a second. And here is my replacement seat, lower seat cover and replacement foam cushion. Again, you don't have to change this to do the repair I'm making, but while I have the seat apart, I want to take the opportunity to go ahead and install this stuff because I already own it. I had ordered this a while back and was just waiting for the opportune time to install it, and this is it. So we'll replace that in just a little bit, but before I go any farther with this job, I want to make absolutely sure that this replacement upper frame will mate properly to my lower frame and that the tilt mechanism will actually work once they're connected to each other. So I'm going to start by removing this existing upper portion, and to do that we've got a series of 15mm bolts. We've got one here on the left hand side, I guess the door side, as well as a Torx screw or bolt that holds this arm attached to the tilt lever. So we need to remove that with a T25 Torx bit. And on the opposite side we have two more 15mm bolts that are going to be covered up behind this plastic panel here. So we need to remove this, and to do that there's a Phillips screw here, a Phillips screw way back in there, and then a third one behind this little carpet flap here. You'll see it right there. So we need to remove all of those, and then that'll expose the final two 15mm bolts in there. Let me get that out of the way. I'll show you those two, and then we'll get this upper frame removed. Okay, I've gotten those three Phillips screws removed. Again, here, and at the rear behind this carpet flap, right there. And the two, looks like the two at the front and the rear are identical. So this is the front one, that's the rear one. They're more like a flange screw, or like a washer head screw. The one in the center has a tapered head. It's got a separate little, almost like a flared washer. So that's that's longer. That goes in this hole here. Alright, so now that those are removed, we should be able to carefully pull this plastic cover off like that to expose those other two 15mm nuts. So there and there. So I'm going to remove those two, as well as, like I said earlier, the other two 15mm on the door side here and there, and this one T25 Torx screw. And then we should be able to lift this upper portion of the seat off the lower frame. So let's do that next. Okay, I've gotten that T25 Torx screw out, as well as the four 15mm bolts, and that's what they look like. Sort of have a flange head on them. So now we're ready to remove the upper portion of the seat. So in theory, I should just be able to lift up and pull this off. There we go, like that. So now I'm going to clean that up a little bit because it's kind of nasty, and then I'm going to try fitting the replacement upper frame on, and we'll need to reinstall those four 15mm bolts and one T25 bolt that we just removed to secure it, and then we can test the operation of the tilt mechanism. Okay, I've got my replacement frame here, and I'm ready to test fit it and test its operation. So we need to, of course this is the door side. You can see the tilt lever here. We need to line up the two bolt holes with the threaded receivers here, something like that, and install those. Same thing on the other side, and then we need to attach this arm here where that T25 bolt goes, so that will fit on like that, and the T25 bolt will go back over it like so. And we just tighten everything down. Don't have to make it overly tight to test it, but I do want to make sure that this is going to work before I go to the trouble of swapping over the cushion and the cover to this new frame. So let me get these bolts in and we'll test this out. Okay, good news. The replacement frame works. You can see I've got some weights in the front of the seat just to keep it from rocking, but I've just tested it and have confirmed that the tilt adjustment does work. So clearly my previous issue was something related to the gears or the rotating mechanism in my original upper frame. So that's good news that this works. I'm excited to be able to drive without having to sit straight up. So now we can move on to swapping over my original upper cushion and seat cover, and then I'll work on the lower later. For those who don't want to watch that part, you can skip that, but first let's focus on getting everything installed on the upper. I think what I may do is, well, I'm going to start by tearing down obviously the old seat, and then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to take this replacement frame back off the lower. I'm not sure if it's going to be easier with it on or off, so let's get into the teardown first, and then I'll make up my mind on that before we move on. Okay, so I'm ready to tear down my old upper seat. The first thing we need to do obviously is get this headrest out of the way. So first we need to raise it to the highest position by squeezing the adjustment tab here. Once it's raised to the highest position, you'll see on this other collar there's a piece in the side that can be depressed when the headrest is in its highest position. So this guy here, so you squeeze in like that and then lift the headrest at the same time. So let me see if I can demonstrate that. So we squeeze and then lift off. Let me set that aside. Next, we need to get these collars off of here. And I did this when I pulled the donor seat out of the junkyard truck, but it's been a while since I did that, and I honestly don't remember how this works. So I need to do a little digging here, figure this out, and then I'll show you the trick. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm pretty sure what I did with the donor seat was to go ahead and remove the cover first. So to do that, you need to flip it up. This is the back side, and if you pull this flap down, see where the cover connects to itself. There's a plastic piece here that's stitched into the inner liner, and basically it hooks like this on another plastic piece wrapped from the other side. So if we lift on both sides, we can kind of separate that like that, and that will expose the foam, and we should be able to gently pull the cover off. Now I am reusing the foam and the cover on this seat, so I got to be very careful. The junkyard seat was disgusting, and obviously I wasn't planning to reuse the foam or cover out of that one. So was able to just tear this apart when I pulled the old frame, or the donor frame out. But this one I've got to be a little bit more careful, so I'm gonna do that off camera probably and see if I can't get this cover pulled down off the foam, and then we can get, I think, yes, you can see inside there. Once we get the cover off, there's an opening in the foam. We can get to the inside portion of those headrest adjustment collars, and I think you have to squeeze them from the inside and then push them up. So let me see if I can get this off, and hopefully that's the trick. Be right back. Okay, as I'm working this off, I wanted to show that the cover is tucked behind the lumbar adjustment knob, but you can gently pull the cover around it like that. So just be patient, gently work it around like that, okay? And then the idea is to just slowly roll this down. And on the front of the seat, there's going to be, should be some Velcro strips that are made into the foam pad that hook on some loop, like a hook and loop system. So the hook part is in the seat and the loop part is in the seat cover. So you'll have to pull that off the hooks. You can hear it disconnecting there, and that should allow this to pull down more easily. So just take your time, just be patient. You don't want to tear up the foam if you can help it. So let me finish this up, and hopefully we'll be able to get at those plastic collars for the headrest next. Alright, so I've almost got the cover off, but I'm not going to be able to get it fully removed without removing these plastic collars. So once we get it pulled all the way up, it's going to be stuck like that. So now we need to go in the back side of the frame and see if we can get to those guys. If I remember correctly, in fact, I've got the ones I pulled out of the old frame over here. Let me grab those and show you what they look like. I think it'll make more sense about how to get this removed. Be right back. Alright, so I grabbed the donor frame here, and I think this will make a lot more sense. So here's what those collars that receive the headrest look like. And if you look at it from the end, you'll see there are two sections that protrude out. Well, I guess there's one that protrudes out, but then there's these other two. And basically you need to align everything with these notches in the frame. So it should go something like that. So you've got this protrusion here aligned with a notch, and this one, which can be squeezed. If I bump this down in like that, now it's locked. If we look on the back side, now you can see that's the part that you can squeeze. Once it pops down through this upper portion of the frame, that little plastic piece pops back out, and now it's locked on the other side. So what we need to do is take some pliers or channel locks and gently squeeze. Like that, and you see it squeeze in, and at the same time pull up from the top portion. So I've got it squeezed, and then while you're squeezing, pull up and it'll pop out. Let me see if I can do this on camera with my tripod. Sorry for the shaky video here. So again, we're going to squeeze that lower portion. There we go. So you just got to get that to clear. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Got to get this guy squeezed in enough to clear the edge of the hole. So that's what we need to do over here. But I almost feel like we need to pull the cushion off first. So let me see if I can peel this off enough to give us access to those guys up top. Okay, before we can get very far with the pad or the cushion, we need to get it around the lumbar support adjustment knob. So just like with the cover, we can gently remove this from around the adjustment knob. Just take your time. Don't go yanking on it too hard because you will tear the foam, but it will pull free like that. So it's over now. So now I need to flip the seat over and work on the other side, but I wanted to show that. And we'll see if we can slide the whole cushion up just a little bit. Okay, honestly, I've not had much luck getting the cushion pulled up at all. Mainly because it's being held by these collars at the top. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is just reach up in there. I've got the seat laid flat on the, upper seat laid flat on the floor now, and I've kind of wedged a towel under here just to keep the foam pulled up. And I'm just gonna have to reach up in there like so with my pliers and squeeze. See if I can get this to focus. Squeeze on both sides of that guy to depress that tab, and hopefully while I'm doing that I can push from the bottom, because I'm not really able to get to the top because the cover's in the way. So I'm going to try that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to film this. Let me see if I can get one out this way, and then maybe I can figure out a way to rig the camera to show this, but let me see if this works. Okay, wanted to actually show you what I ended up doing, because what I thought I was going to be able to do didn't really work very well. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully there's not a lot of strobing. I've got an LED flashlight helping me out here, but what I had to do actually was take a long screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and wedge it against the edge of the plastic sleeve there. And while I had it wedged, I took a pair of pliers and just tapped on the end here, and that pushed it up while I had that retractable piece pushed over. And so now it's free. I need to flip this over and pop it out fully, but that seemed to do the trick. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well, and then we can hopefully get the cover and the cushion fully removed finally. Alright, I'm working on the other side. I figured I'd take a shot at trying to demonstrate this. It's in a very precarious place. But you can see what I'm doing here. You can see I've got the screwdriver wedged. The challenge on this side is that I don't have any leverage against anything. On the other side I could leverage against the side of the frame, but here I don't really have anything to push against. But the idea is to get that pushed over all the way, obviously. And then when it's pushed over, give this a tap. There we go. I got it. Hopefully that was clear on video. Sorry for the weird angle, but that's what worked for me. So I'm going to flip this over and pull those out and finish getting this cushion off. Okay, with the seat flipped back right side up, Obviously now we can pull these guys out, and that should allow us to finish pulling this foam cushion off. So let me get that off, and that'll expose the frame, and then we can work on transferring everything over to the replacement seat. Okay, the foam cushion's coming off pretty easy. As you recall, we already had it pulled over the lumbar adjustment knob, so I'm just kind of pulling outward and up, and you'll see that it's coming off pretty easy now. So there we go. So it's off completely. So now we can work on getting it reinstalled on the replacement frame. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, I haven't decided yet if I want to install it with the upper frame attached to the lower or not. Let me think about that, and I'll be right back. Show you what I'm doing. Okay, I've decided I think I'm going to reinstall the cushion and the cover while the upper frame is still attached to the lower frame. I am going to have to take the upper back off when I replace the lower cushion and cover. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but it's going to make it easier, so I plan to. I didn't really reinstall the bolts that hold the upper to the lower tight, so they'll come back off easily, but it is nice that it holds it upright for me with it still attached. So next I'm going to go ahead and slip the old upper cushion from my original seat over the donor frame here. But before I do that, I just wanted to point out that this lumbar support apparatus here has a elastic string attached to it, and I noticed that both the donor seat and my original seat had some fraying in the string, and then I think it's caused because it loops over the metal frame here, and there's a little bit of a sharp edge here. So I went ahead and wrapped some electrical tape around this just to try to ease that edge. I don't know if it'll make much difference or not, but it shouldn't hurt. So just wanted to mention that. And then of course the string hooks onto these little stakes here at the top, and that just basically keeps it from flopping. Once you put the foam over, it's going to pretty much hold it in place. And of course the lumbar support works through a cable system, so when you spin the dial here, it either loosens or tightens this cable that runs around to both sides. So when you apply tension to the cable, this pulls forward. When you loosen it, it pushes back. So that's how it provides lumbar support. Never had really taken one of these apart before, so wasn't really sure how that works, but it's kind of neat to see it in action. So anyhow, that's that. I'm going to kind of set it looser so it's not in the way of the foam. And now we're going to go ahead and take our old cushion and start to slide it over the top carefully, and we'll have to work it over the lumbar adjustment knob here when we get to that point. So bear with me, I'll be right back. Okay, we're ready to slide this over. As you can see, it's obviously kind of slotted for the frame to fit inside the cushion. So we just need to line the slot with the frame itself, and then just gently pull it down and work it over the lumbar knob here. I'll have to tuck that in behind, and then once I get it down all the way, I can start to work the seat cover over the top of it. So pretty simple, straightforward. It's obviously the reverse of how we removed it, but just wanted to give an update on where I am. Okay, the foam cushion is fully in place now. It went in really easily, thankfully, so I was happy about that. Now we're ready to take our cover, which is still flipped inside out from removal, and of course it's still got the two sleeves for the headrest attached to it. So we're just going to need to drop those into the holes at the top. So they'll insert like that, and we just need to make sure that the springy parts of those that protrude are aligned with these slots in the frame. So I'll check that from the back, and go ahead and press them fully into place, and then we can work on flipping the cover in right side out and working it over the foam as we go down. Okay, I'm on the back of the seat now and ready to pop these sleeves in. So the spring portion should face the door side of the seat. So facing in front of the vehicle should face the left on both of those. So make sure I've got them oriented properly. Yep. And of course they correspond with some slots in the frame. So once they're oriented properly, we can push them down. We have to give them a little twist so we feel them kind of interlock with the frame. We also need to make sure on the bottom side that they are aligned with these holes. I don't know if you can see where my finger is there. There's a hole in the frame. We need to make sure that those sleeves align with those holes and push through. Once they're in the hole, we can push down fully from the top and they will lock into place. So I will do that next, and then we can flip the cover over and work that into place. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see the bottom of the collar of the sleeve, but it's locked into place now in the frame on both sides. And when we check the top, they are nice and secure. So they're good now, and now we can start to pull our cover back down over the cushion like so. Let me set up my tripod, see if I can get this on camera, and then we can work on the bottom seat. Alright, so I'm just going to gently pull this down from the top, being careful not to tear the foam in the process, but I also want to make sure that it's nice and snug at the top and have it aligned properly. So far, so good. I have a feeling it's going to be a little tricky to get behind here all the way, but maybe not. Huh, that was actually a lot easier than I thought. Alright, so I just need to work on the other side now, and then we can pull the upper back off and work on the bottom seat. That actually went a lot smoother than I thought. Alright, the upper cover is fully installed with the exception of hooking it at the bottom, which I'll do when I pull it back off the lower frame. So I'm going to do that next, and again, it's just like we did earlier. Two 15mm bolts and the T25 Torx screw on the door side, and two 15mm bolts on the opposite side. So I'm going to remove those, pull the upper back off, and we'll work on swapping out the cushion and cover on the lower seat. For those of you who aren't interested in that, you can go ahead and skip ahead to the reinstallation of the seat. Okay, with the upper removed now, we can easily remove the lower cover. So we're going to flip the seat upright, and there's a couple of plastic hooks here at the top that we need to pull off of this this bar here. And then once we get those removed, the cover should pull forward. We can just peel it this way to expose the foam. So let me work on that and see if I can show you how that works. Okay, I just realized I actually misspoke. There's actually 4 plastic hooks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 smaller ones on the outside, 2 wider ones on the inside. I'm just going to try to hook a screwdriver under there and pop them off. like so. Oh, actually there's 6, so there's 2 on the outer cover, the 2 wider ones, and then this sort of inner liner has 4, 2 smaller ones on the outside and the 2 wider ones in the center. There we go. Now we should be able to lay the seat flat again and gently start to peel the cover forward. And it's probably going to be hooked in a couple spots around the edges. So let me figure that out and show you where those hooks are. We'll be right back. Okay, so I flipped the seat upside down. I think it's going to make things a lot easier. And so it appears that the cover is just kind of hooked under the edge of the frame. So you can kind of put your fingers underneath this piece of plastic that's attached to the cover and pop it off. Once you get one side off, it should become a lot easier. And there, the cover and the cushion should come off together. So now the frame is free from everything else. So this is kind of nasty. I'm going to clean up some of the dirt and grime that's accumulated over the years in the nooks and crannies, and then we'll work on swapping in the new cushion and cover, and we can get everything put back in the vehicle and wrap this project up. Okay, I've gotten the lower frame cleaned up as much as I can, and I'm ready to go ahead and move on to reinstalling the new cushion and seat cover. So I've got my new cover and cushion here. I'm going to line up the cover with the cushion, and I want to make sure that these hook and loop, I don't know what you want to call that, just a row of Velcro aligns with the Velcro in the seat. There's a groove there in the cushion. So we want to pull the cover over the cushion. I think I'm going to flip it upside down to get it aligned. And then I want to work the seam where the Velcro is into that groove and make sure that it attaches to the Velcro. And you'll be able to hear it hook in there. And it just takes a little bit of finagling to get it lined up. It's probably going to look a little wrinkly at first until we get it stretched out and reinstalled fully. I feel like that's a pretty good initial fit. Now there is also a fabric strap that loops around the underside like that, and it velcros together to hold everything in place. And of course this will stretch out more when we hook these plastic pieces on the side to the frame. And that'll help stretch this out and get rid of some of those wrinkles. So I think we're ready for the frame now. Let me reposition and we'll move on. Okay, I've got the cover and cushion aligned with the lower frame. I'm just going to drop it down on there and kind of feel underneath to make sure that the cushion has cleared the front edge of the frame. And then we should be able to flip everything over. And we need to make sure that the edges hook over this side of the frame. Let me turn my flash on so this will show up a little bit better and see if I can demonstrate this. Okay, so the edge of the cover, of course, has this plastic strip that we saw when we removed the old cover. We need to make sure that it clears over the edge of the frame here, like so, and then we can kind of rotate it upward and it locks in place. And we need to do the same thing on the other side. Like that. Now at the front, there's another plastic piece that I believe rolls over and should hook. Yes, so this plastic piece here should hook over this edge of the frame all the way across the front. So you just need to pull it back, pull the plastic back until it clears over the edge, and then kind of slide it forward like that. Let's see if you can see it from the edge. Yeah, there you go. So you can see how it's hooked behind the frame there. Sorry for the focus, but hopefully you get the idea. Hooks on this edge. Alright, now let me reposition and we'll work on the back edge, and then we can put the upper back on. Okay, I've got the seat flipped up so that the rear is facing upward, and if you recall from removal, there are actually a series of plastic hooks that connect the cover to the frame here. There's this inner lining underneath the main cover, and it's got 4 hooks that hook underneath this curved edge of the frame. Have to say I'm not crazy about what I'm seeing here. I didn't tear these. They were like this already. If you look at the original seat, there was a continuous plastic strip with the 4 hooks built into it, and a thicker liner here. This is a very thin lining on the replacement cover, and for whatever reason the hooks are stitched in individually, and you can see that liner is already tearing. It was like that before I even stretched it into place, so not crazy about that. I don't know how long those are going to last, but thankfully the outer cover seems to be more durable. So now I just need to stretch these 2 hooks in the center over top of these 2. It's going to take a little bit of strength. It did take some effort to get these inner ones hooked over the edge. I actually did have to pop up the Velcro in these seams, and now I need to, once I get everything put back in place, I need to kind of rework these seams by pressing down and get that Velcro to hook into the cushion below. But with time and some effort, I think that'll work out okay. So I'm going to finish hooking these over here, and then we can go ahead and mate the upper and the lower together again and get this thing back in the truck. Alright, we're ready to reinstall the upper, but the last thing we need to do is hook the cover at the bottom. So if you recall from earlier, there are these plastic strips that are hooked, and they just overlap each other. So we just need to pull one past the other until they engage. And you'll hear them kind of snap together. Now it's nice and snug, and we can reinstall this on the lower frame. Okay, I've got the upper frame rested back in place with the bolt holes aligned on the lower. So you've got one bolt hole here, just like earlier, one there, and then this adjustment arm will hook over like so. And we need to put our 15mm bolts back in. And we'll probably require wiggling the upper frame a little bit while we screw them in. I think what I need to do is pull this off actually until I get these started. There's one started. Let's see if I can get the bottom. Yep, alright, that's started. Now I can flip that over and take our T25 Torx bolt and get it started as well. I'm not going to tighten them down just yet. I'm going to flip over to the other side, get the other 15mm bolts started, and then we'll tighten everything up. Okay, I'm back on the other side now, and just like we just did on the door side, we just need to line up the bolt holes here and insert our 15mm bolts and get them started. And again, we can kind of rock the upper as needed to get the holes to align. Once they're started by hand, then we can take a wrench and tighten them down. So I'm gonna tighten these up, and then we can get this back in the truck and start connecting the wiring connections and bolt everything down to the frame. Okay, we're just about ready to reinstall the seat in the truck, but before we do that, we need to reinstall this side cover on the console side of the seat. And to do that, if you recall from disassembly, there are 3 screws like this. The 2 shorter ones go on the front screw hole here, and the rear one right back here under this flap. Let's see if you can see that right there. And the longer one goes in the center here, and the cover basically just lines up with the seat belt. There's a little rubber flap that kind of conceals the hinge in the seat. So it just takes a little bit of finagling to get this back portion hooked in the right spot and get these 2 screw holes here to line up. That's not difficult. I'm going to start with the center screw. So I can get it to find the screw hole. There we go. Obviously, they don't need to be overly tight. And lastly, the one at the back. It's gonna fight me a little bit. Have to reposition here. Might actually have too many extensions on my screw gun. There we go. You get the idea. All right, now we are ready to take this back to the truck.